city. Let me first describe what my hometown looks like. Jakarta, Indonesia is surrounded by beautiful oceans, exotic temples, and strong dialects. Does any of this ring a bell? Yes. The descriptions also fit very well with Busan. 7 beaches, attractive temples like Haedong Yeonggongsa, and we can't forget the famous dialect Busan 사투리. And that's when I knew Busan was going to be my second home. I grew up so much in Busan that I even mentor other students from Indonesia to help them with their Korean and life in Busan. When I teach them Korean, I sometimes see myself using 사투리. Looking back, I remember struggling to understand what my professors were saying because they were using 찐 Busan 사투리, you know, the real Busan dialect. But I think that's what makes Busan more of my home. Through the dialect, I feel the warm charm that no other city can mimic. Global City Busan. We are in it together. This campaign is brought to you by BEFM 부산영어방송.
BEFM 부산영어방송에서는 더 나은 방송 제작을 위한 청취율 조사를 실시하고 있습니다. 프로그램 만족도, 개선사항 등 부산영어방송에 대한 청취자 여러분의 소중한 의견을 기다리고 있습니다. 부산영어방송 홈페이지와 앱에서도 참여 가능합니다. 추첨을 통해 푸짐한 선물도 드리고 있으니 많은 참여 부탁드립니다.
BEFM is conducting a listener survey to make our programs even better. We'd love to hear your thoughts, whether it's about how much you enjoy our shows or ways we can improve. By participating, you'll also have the chance to win some exciting prizes through a random draw. It's easy to join. Just head over to the BEFM website or use our app. Your feedback is incredibly valuable, and we can't wait to hear from you.
나만 알고 싶은 우리 동네의 작은 가게들 하나쯤 있다면 그 가게 마음껏 이용하고 응원해주세요. 동네 가게를 이용할수록 우리 경제가 살아나니까요. 세상 가장 쉬운 응원 같이 가요. 작은 가게로 부산 방송광고 발전협의회.
The time is now 7 o'clock.
Sinkholes. You know, we have heard about them, we've learned about them, whether it's in school, we've seen them in movies probably, and yes, even in the news, we've definitely talked about them here on our show. But sinkholes, they have really come a part of our reality, opening up on our roads in our neighborhoods at an increasingly alarming rate. Sinkhole-related accidents have been happening pretty much every other day, and the government is conducting special inspections around large construction sites. And we still don't know exactly why these sinkholes form in many cases or scenarios, but as it can happen to any place and anyone at any time, this is a field that warrants fast, in-depth study. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Thursday, September 26th on BEFM 부산영어방송. Good morning, Wavers. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to our program. And so I hope you've been enjoying this nice kind of reprieve in the hot weather. Yes, it was slightly warm, but not as warm as we've been kind of complaining about. And we've also been talking about sinkholes quite a bit in the past few days. You probably saw those photos or footage of a massive one in Sasang, right? And, these ground depression episodes are a lot more common than you might imagine, with 879 cases in the last 4.5 years, meaning an incident has occurred every 1.9 days. So, big question.
Why do they occur? Why do they happen? Well, government data shows that about 45% of them had to do with burst water pipes underground. And the water from these pipes, they cause holes underground and constant movement and vibration. That adds to that, and it becomes worse if the site around the construction sites, there's a lot of action going on, and then that causes the ground to sink. Construction was also another major cause, including things like subway construction, which many point to as a potential cause for the sinkholes that have been popping up in Sasang. And because most of the problems take place underground and the actual sinking of the surface is basically the final kind of step, these areas are very difficult to pinpoint. And some municipalities have begun to use high-tech equipment, including ground-penetrating radars and even AI analysis models, to aid in this investigation and now investigations, I'm sure, because there have been more than one, and hopefully we'll be able to get clear answers on this issue that is causing a lot of anxiety for many people out there. I mean, me included. Anytime I see anything like this on the news, I think, oh my gosh, that could happen in my neighborhood, in my neck of the woods. It could happen to any of us. And of course, all the waivers out there, I'm sure you're just as concerned as I am. So that's our main story for today. However, text topic time. Are you ready? So many of you have been commenting, me included, about the fact that fall, autumn, 가을 is your favorite season. So what do you love about fall? What in particular? Why? Why do you love fall? And what do you want to do this fall season? What are you looking forward to? 자, 웨이버 여러분, 가을을 좋아하는 이유. 우리 계속 더워요. 언제 가을이 오나 그랬잖아요. 드디어 왔는데 또 올 가을에 꼭 하고 싶은 것은. And I think this is important. 이것도 중요한 것 같은데요. 뭐 하고 싶은 것도 중요하지만 누구랑, with whom. So, what do you want to do this fall and with whom? That is the main theme for our text topic today. You can send in your messages through BFM's live stream on YouTube, on our live chat room. It's very lively, I promise you. What you do is search for BEFM, 부산영어방송, go to the YouTube channel, and then what you do is subscribe. You log in, and then you can chat away with our other waivers. Also, on your phone, pound 9050. That's going to cost you 101. You can also reach me for free on our Kakao Talk channel. Same thing there. You search for BEFM or 부산영어방송. And the ways you can listen to us. So many different ways. On the radio, 90.5, 103.3 FM. And like I said, we're live streaming right now on YouTube. And some of you might be wondering, the angle looks a little different today. Yes, so the boss is away. What do we do when the boss is away? We play. Well, I'm playing with all the little buttons and gadgets, but don't worry, our engineer, he's in the shadows just in case I make a mistake. So hopefully it'll be smooth sailing all morning long. So that's on YouTube. You can watch us in real time. Also watch again on that platform. We also have the Patbang app as well. And by the way, our listener survey has been extended. So originally it was due to go through yesterday, the 25th, but we're extending it till the 29th. And the thing is, after you choose your favorite program as Morning Wave in Busan, you are eligible to win an array of amazing gifts. But I know that's not why you're filling it out. You want to give us great feedback, so we're ready for that. Anyhow, let's look ahead to our morning together. We have Lydia with Beyond the Headlines. We have Han with City Insights. For our special interview, though, we're going to be discussing baseball, the KBO, and the fact that it has been amazingly really, really popular. Why? Why is attendance so high this season? Let's find out with Yoo coming up in hour number 2. And I'll be back with today's headlines. right, it is now time for today's headlines. It's now 7:07. Yoon faces pushback from both parliamentary parties. Leaders of the ruling People Power Party, or PPP, voiced frustration over the dinner with President Yoon Suk-yeol earlier this week, while National Assembly Speaker Woo Won-sik urged President Yoon to publicly address his wife's luxury bag scandal. OECD cuts South Korea's 2024 growth outlook to 2.5%. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, or OECD, cut the growth outlook for the South Korean economy by 0.1% to 2.5% this year. Childbirth in South Korea rise by most in 12 years in July. The number of babies born in South Korea came to 20,601, showing an increase of 7.9%, or the largest margin in 12 years. School violence experience rate exceeds 2% for the first time in a decade. Elementary to high school students who say they have experienced school violence increased to over 2% this year for the first time in 11 years. Israel intercepts Hezbollah missile near Tel Aviv as it prepares for a ground incursion. Israel and Hezbollah are trading waves of strikes, which have forced thousands of people to flee their homes in Lebanon. And these are today's headlines. Listeners, it's now time to check in with Haley. She's in the studio with me for Busan updates. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's so weird this morning.
Different angles.
Different angle. We're so far away. I know on camera it looks like we're sitting next to each other, but we're really not. We're like across the board, boardroom table.
I need to not shout at you.
I know.
Yeah.
Because we have mics, right?
Right.
Okay, so for our text topic, we are talking about fall because I don't know about you. I think we both know we love this season.
I love fall.
However short it may be this year. So, what are you looking forward to? What's your favorite thing about fall? Like
I'm
details.
just going to be constantly outdoors.
Outdoors just all the
I'm
time.
just not going to go home, period. I'm just going to be roaming the streets, which is what I did. I think this Sunday, I went out for a run. And usually after my very brief half an hour run, I'm like, I got to go lie down. I got to go home and just lie down with like a foam roller, but not really. But just lie down.
Just lie down.
I just kept roaming. I just kept like wandering around the streets because I'm like, the air.
Oh, so
it's so
perfect.
pleasant.
Yes.
It's nothing sticking. And I just finished a run, so I was sweating, but it's not sticking. Things are cooling me off. So yeah, I actually made a list. I'm going to go hiking.
Bucket list.
Bucket list. I'm going to go hiking. And then on my way down, I'm going to eat duck barbecue.
Duck barbecue.
오리고기. Because there's a place at the entry/exit of the trail. And I've always wanted to go, so I'm going to go.
Okay. What else?
Maybe a little bit of makgeolli. And then I'm going to go to Ulsukdo on a picnic with like kimbap and ramen. Yeah, maybe sandwiches.
All by your list himself?
Well, I have friends.
Okay.
So I got to go convince them though. I'm like, so when are you free?
That kind of sounds like nice date spots too.
Yeah, but I have friends and family.
Yes. Well, thanks for sharing. We're going to jump into our update. So first, we have discussed this issue of ships that have been abandoned or docked at local ports for a prolonged period of time. And there is finally apparently a way to solve this problem.
Right. Unfortunately, some of the ports, especially the North Port, has been dubbed like a graveyard for ships because that's where a lot of the ships that are almost dead or just like out of commission or abandoned have been docked. But Busan Office of Oceans and Fisheries is working on an eviction for 7 of these what are considered high-risk vessels.
Sure.
So why are they high risk? Well, they're over 40 years old and they're mostly oil tankers. So there's a potential for the for sinking or causing water pollution as the oil may leach. And the thing is, they have been docked at the harbor without permission or the owners have ignored requests to make improvements to these vessels.
I see.
So upon this, the Oceans and Fisheries Office, they've issued an order for 7 of these vessels to be moved from their current spot. So right now, the authorities are trying to get everything done at least voluntarily. So they're in the process of contacting the owner or the operator of the vessel. However, if everything else fails, they will have to tow or move the vessels by force and then request the towing fee or give it to the ship's owner to pay for.
I see.
So the office will also conduct a survey over all the other ships that have been docked there for a prolonged period of time and take necessary issues if there are safety concerns. And the North Port, by the way, currently has 97 of such ships. It's called, once again, the ship graveyard.
Right.
And they do pose also safety and environmental threats.
So that's what's going on. I mean, we are a port city, so this is of importance to us. Next up, though, let's talk about this. Busan City is on the up and up in terms of a reputation as a global finance city.
Absolutely. So the Global Financial Centers Index is a key assessment of financial competitiveness of major cities across the world. And Busan's ranking in the latest round came to 25 out of 121 cities. That is the highest ranking ever for Busan since the list was compiled in 2015.
Wow.
And this is an 8-step increase from the previous round. And Busan also ranked in 9th place in all of Asia. So this is in spite of us having gone through tough economic times in the city, in the country, and throughout the world.
Sure.
So Busan City said that it has been trying to attract financial firms under the Financial Opportunities Development Special Zone. And this is also a reflection of expectations over the Global Hub City designation.
Yes.
So the British firm ZN, which compiled the list, held a symposium about this index and said that Busan's rankings are actually on the rise. They have been on the up and up, and it's based on its consistent growth. Also, Mayor Park Hyung-jun vowed to focus on digital finance to boost the city's rankings even further, and the goal is to break into top 20 by 2030.
I think we can do it.
I think so, too.
Yes, we have a few years. Well, we're going to go to Daejeon for our next story, where a lot of fun events are in store for our waivers.
Right. So we think of, we connect beaches to the summer season. But if you ask me, and no one did, but I'm asking myself, Daejeon is like the autumnal beach. That's because next to and in front of, kind of around the beach, is this beautiful field of reeds, like 갈대 or 억새, 갈대. Don't really know the difference. And there are these like decks that you can walk through. You get a beautiful taste of the fall as well. So Daejeon is holding a film festival from October 18th through the 20th across the beach. So if you're a little sad about Biff being over, well, head over to Daejeon.
Yes.
And of course also across local movie theaters as well. So this is the first ever film festival on this beach, hosted by Saha District and BNK Busan Bank. And the aim is to seek out Busan-based films and show them. So the films will be either about Busan, they were filmed throughout Busan, or have directors and or stars based or from Busan.
Sure.
There will also be programs for directors and actors to meet and greet and communicate with the audience members. And then on top of that, the beach itself will turn into this gigantic movie theater. And Saha District said that a lot of film festivals are based in eastern Busan, in the Haeundae Centum area. So this event seeks to really balance that out.
Right. So I love the fact that, we have more diversity, representation of the different areas of Busan. But there is another event going on, this time a walking mission.
Not just a tour, but there are missions tasks to be completed. And why not? Because once again, I refuse to be indoors this season. So it's jointly hosted by Saha District and the Busan Tourism Organization.
Right.
So you get to walk around Daejeon and complete these missions, kind of like a stamp tour, to be eligible to win souvenirs. So these include the Amisan, the Mount Ami Observatory, the Gooni hiking trail, the beach, of course, and certain areas around the beach.
Sure.
And if you complete the entire course, you'll be eligible to win hotel vouchers. But if you don't want to be that active, you can do it partially. If you complete 3 out of the courses, you can win surfing coupons and sandcastle building kits for 2 courses.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of fun for all the different ages. So thank you for sharing that. And for our final issue or story, we're going to talk about winter lights. I know it sounds a little too early, but it's
Right.
really coming up soon. Winter lights in Busan are coming early this year, right?
But here's the thing about some people. As
Yes.
soon as the heat goes away and there's like a tiny bit of coolness in the air, some people are like, Christmas.
Yes.
Yes. And if you are that person, we'll head to Seomyeon for the Lights Festival. The Seomyeon Light Festival will take place from October 2nd to January 10th of next year across 5 different zones. And because I work in Seomyeon, they have installed that like giant tree in the middle of a roundabout. So it'll span some 1.8 kilometers and feature various lights and light installations. So the opening ceremony, once again, October 2nd. The district will actually declare October as the month to visit Busanjin district. So it's working with the tourism organization and handing out discount coupons for hotels and accommodations located in the district. So by the way, October is festival 10월 because there are so many festivals taking place across the city.
Sure.
And Busanjin district would be kind of a central place for you to like set up base camp and go to all these different festivals.
Right.
So this festival, the Light Festival, started last year and it was very successful, so much so that local businesses actually asked the district to extend it through February, which it did. And it was also selected as one of the top 100 nighttime tourism spots.
Well, lots to look forward to. That one of the many reasons we love fall, right?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Haley. So back to you, the listeners. We're going to talk about your text topic, and then we're going to get to your traffic and weather. So, fall. Bar none, for me, my favorite season. I just can't believe the fact that because of climate change, it's just getting really, really shorter. So, what do you love about the fall season? What do you want to do this fall? 가을에 좋아하는 이유, 가을을 좋아하는 이유, 뭐 하고 싶은지, 누구랑 하고 싶은지. That is our text topic. And now let's get to our traffic and weather. The time is now 7:19. Here is your traffic report. There was an accident on the Namhae Expressway from Mandok to the Daejeon interchange, a two-car collision by Deokcheon interchange. Also, there's congestion on Dongso overpass from Hwangryong ramp to the old Daegum toll gate. It's also backed up on Bunyeongno from Mangmi ramp to Suyeong tunnel. As for the weather, it's currently 21 degrees Celsius under clear skies. The heat is making a return with the daytime high expected to go up to 30 degrees. Looking at the weather nationwide, rain is forecast in the capital area and parts of Gangwon and Chungnam. And there is a pretty big gap in the low and high in temperature, so make sure you might want to dress in layers. So this was your, traffic and weather.
Are you an early bird? Are you up to date on the news? Are you a trendsetter? For all of the biggest issues from Busan to the world and useful information you need, right here on Morning Wave in Busan.
Wavers, it's now time for News Digest. So Haley is here still with us. So we're going to dive into our first news story. So this is regarding the prosecution's outside panel of experts who decided to recommend that the pastor involved in the First Lady's luxury bag case be indicted. And this is kind of like a twist in the case, is it not?
Absolutely. So this is a case that involves a Korean-American pastor, Choi
Yes.
Jae-young, having given the First Lady a luxury Dior bag while asking for a favor. So this decision by the outside panel, it
Yes.
goes against the previous decision by the prosecution that First Lady Kim Gun-hee accepting the bag did not violate the laws on bribery and the Anti-Graft Act, amongst others. So specifically, the panel focused on the correlation between the favor that Pastor Choi Jae-young had asked for and President Yoon Suk-yeol, her husband, of course, his job description / responsibilities. And because the thing is that correlation is the legal foundation for making the bribery / anti-graft charges stick.
Yes.
So the investigation team at Seoul Central Prosecution, it reportedly ruled that there wasn't a clear correlation between the favor and the president's job description. So they decided that the bag seems to have been kind of a means to approach the first lady or as a congratulatory gift, not a compensation or a request for a specific favor. And they also ruled that there is no law that can punish the spouse of a public official under the Anti-Graft Act.
I see. But, the outside panel reached a totally kind of like opposite conclusion not about the pastor, did they not?
Right. So there's a juxtaposition, an oxymoron, if you'd call it that the person, at least in this case, the rulings are that the person who gave the bag broke the Anti-Graft Act, but the person who received the bag didn't break the Anti-Graft Act. So it's like, can it be possible over the same action? So the panel is said to have ruled that there was at least a minimal correlation between the favor and the president's job, because of course the president does cover a variety of responsibilities. So by the way, that panel is comprised of non-law enforcement officials. So we're talking law professors and attorneys. So the interpretation of law under these experts may be a wider and somewhat closer to the public perception than what the prosecutors would. Because the prosecution, however, they interpret the law, they also have to defend it in a court of law, so they do tend to be more conservative.
Yes.
In any case, this does add another layer of complication to this first ever investigation into the sitting first lady. And the final conclusion, though, the ruling does lie with the prosecution, and they're under pressure, and some pundits say that they may be criticized one way or another.
True. So what are the next moves for the prosecution?
So they have to decide whether to officially indict the pastor or not, and also by extension the first lady.
Yes.
So the reports say the prosecution is leaning toward keeping the investigation team's original position that it does not have the grounds to indict the first lady. However, it is currently undecided on how to proceed with the pastor. And pundits say that the results may come out faster than we might expect. So there's a weekly reporting to the Prosecutor General scheduled for today, which of course this topic will be under discussion. So a decision and an announcement may be made as early as tomorrow.
Okay, well, definitely when we have the details, we'll relay that to our listeners. Let's move on, though, and talk about the medical school students' boycott of classes, which has been going on for over 7 months now.
Right.
And as the second semester is well underway, schools are trying to figure out ways to prevent a situation where basically the entire class would be held back.
Right, so midterms are almost here, but
Yes.
the vast majority of medical students have not gone back to classes at all this year.
Right.
So the Ministry of Education data shows that of the 40 medical schools across the country, the attendance rate is at about 2.8%. And there are even schools where not even a single student has come to class. The tuition payment rate was slightly higher at 3.4%, but it seems that some students have paid, but they're not coming to class. So upon this, the Catholic University in Seoul, their medical school announced that they will give an exception this year, the exemption for its rules of attendance and exams. So what that means, right now, most of the Catholic University medical school's classes are held online, and the university said that they will not be applying the attendance requirement rules for online classes. So what that means is that if a student doesn't attend any of these online classes, he or she will still be able to pass.
Oh.
And then on top of that, it's actually allowing for medical students to reapply for exams from the first semester.
Right.
So basically that means if a medical student flunked the exam first semester or didn't take it and has not come to any of the classes so far this year, if he or she takes just one exam in October/November,
Sure.
they'll pass.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they'll get a green light for the entire year, essentially.
Oh.
And other schools are contemplating similar measures as well.
Well, this seems very extraordinary.
Right, because if a poli-sci student, for example,
Yes.
does that, they're out of there.
Of
They've been
course.
out of there for weeks. Right. So
I
this
mean,
raises issues that,
yes.
well, isn't this preferential treatment?
And setting
Also,
bad precedent.
exactly, because this isn't the first medical strike, and we would like to think it's the last, but if it's not,
Yes.
then they're going to point to this case of saying, well, you let us pass last time. Well, the government, however, said that it isn't preferential treatment because having a stable supply of new doctors come into the market is directly linked to public health.
Right, right.
But I also want my future doctors to have had a full year's worth of education, not just have passed one exam.
It would make me nervous.
It would make me very
I'll be
nervous.
honest.
Yeah.
I want, my doctors to be fully well trained, right? Just saying. All right. For now, though, we're going to leave that story there. We're going to move on to our next story regarding gold. Gold.
Cha-ching.
It is a symbol of wealth and luxury. It always has been. But the price of gold has gotten really expensive, right?
And we colloquially say it's like a metaphor, like kumkap, like the price of gold
Right.
is. We say that like, oh, the pechu, the Asian cabbages, like it's kumkap. Like, it's the
Exactly.
price of gold.
Uh-huh.
But the price of gold is so the price of gold. It is not even funny. So according
Okay.
to the Korea Gold Exchange, so in Korea we measure gold under this unit ton, which is 3.75 grams of gold.
Yes.
It comes in at 469,054 won. And this, why do we measure it in that random 3.75? Because that's a cultural unit.
Yes.
That's often circulated because that's one ring, one 돌반지 for a first birthday of a
That's
child.
right,
It's
that's
that
right.
tiny ring. So all in all, because you do have to not only pay for the price of gold, but also the craft and the craftsmanship as well. So one gold ring for a first birthday is now coming in at 500,000 won, 50만 won.
Sure.
For my nephew, who's also 9, and this was nearly a decade ago, but I paid like 180,000 won for his like 100th
Wow.
day birthday or birth, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what? Why didn't I stock up back then? Man.
Because we're not psychic. We didn't know it's going to go up this much.
Exactly. So
Yes.
internationally too, gold futures have been trading at $2,646. Huge increase of 27% compared to even the beginning of the year where the price of gold was just scraping by at $2,000.
Yes. But apparently, experts say that the price of gold may even go higher than this.
Right. So always, I'm not giving you any investment advice. Tips would be vastly not qualified to do so. But the price of gold is connected to two things. The U.S. Federal Reserve and other central governments lowering their interest rates, plus the ongoing global conflict.
Okay.
So experts say that basically in any situation where the financial market / geopolitical conflicts are leading to instability, people flock to stable forms of assets, which would be gold.
Gold.
So
That's the standard.
Exactly. Where a lowered interest rate cycle may be beginning, such as right now, investors focus on gold. Historically, gold prices were inversely related to interest rates, meaning
Okay.
when interest rates go down, gold prices go up.
Right.
And in fact, several central banks around the world have collectively bought up 483 tons of gold in the first half of this year. And also with geopolitical conflicts expanding potentially to Lebanon or already has, this raises preference for more stable assets. So right now, experts are saying all roads lead to gold.
Like literally.
Yeah. And don't invite me to any first birthday parties.
Please, or at least you won't be getting.
No gold rings.
Yeah.
Maybe like a speck.
Most likely not.
Yeah.
But thank you for all the news, Haley. And of course, we're going to check in with you in hour number 2, right?
See you in a bit.
All right, everybody. Now it is time. We need to take a little breather. I need to take a little break because, it's one of those days, stressful days. How about this song, though? Since we're talking about fall for a text topic, 가을에 만나 by 윤건. And of course, we'll be back in just a moment.
여름이 가고 가을이 올 때면 해운대 밤바람 불어오네요. 파도 거품 속에 담긴 네 모습 오륙도 넘어 지난 여름에 처음 너를 느꼈 지난 여름에 처음 너를 느꼈죠 아직도 두 눈이 너를 기억해 부드럽게 날린 너의 머릿결 수평선 너와 단둘이 우린 다시 또 걸어가고 있죠 그대와 가을에 만나 우리 만나면 파도 거품 맥주 한잔 너와 단둘이
All right, everybody, welcome back. Yes, I took a little breather. I needed that. But it was such a nice song, was it not? And thank you for everybody understanding that, the camera angles, yes, I know I look ginormous. And yes, it's not the same camera angle. It's because our producer, she's out of the office today. And so back to our main story. We're talking about sinkholes. This is kind of serious, right? With such frequent occurrence of these sinkholes recently, the government has decided to hold a special inspection over construction sites that utilize excavators. So the inspection will involve surveys into ground levels around the site, whether the projects have followed the necessary regulations and have the necessary equipment installed. But it's also been pointed out that previous inspections have been going at a glacial pace. That means snail pace, really, really slow. So the Ministry of Land data shows that in the Korea Authority of Land and Infrastructure Safety, that they've only completed 2.5% of the roads that need to be inspected. So lawmakers pointed out that during the parliamentary inspection that at this pace, it would take up to, are you ready for this? 40 years to complete the inspection over all the necessary roads. 40 years? This is not to fix. This is just for the inspection part. And on top of this, there were cases where sinkholes happened on roads that had passed the safety inspection. So this is work that needs to be done right, but also promptly as the changing climate. It's not doing us any favors. We know that, right? And that means that more resources are going to be needed to expand it and to expedite. We don't want to go at a snail's pace. We want to do it quickly. We want to be expeditious. We want to have all that information so we can fix the problems. So that's what we're talking about today. Now, back to you, the wavers out there. Fall is here. Although today, I don't know, it's going to be hot. It's going to go up to 30 today. But technically, fall is here. So what do you love about fall? I am so looking forward to, a day where it's cool enough where I can pull out my trench coat. Like, when I think of fall, I think of, like, all the trench coats and the fashion. I'll be honest. The trench coats I can pull out of my closet. I also love, like, the sound of... those dry, crispy leaves, like the crunch sound. I love the sound of that. So 여러분은 가을을 좋아하는 이유는 뭘까요? 그리고 또 올 가을에 꼭 하고 싶은 것은? So looking at some of your, I know I have to turn my head to look at the messages, so I do apologize. All right, so looking at some of your messages, we have... people, yes, saying that Leslie, falling, beautiful, crunchy leaves. Oh, we think alike on the same way. The smell of bonfires, roasting chilies, cozy sweaters, warm soups, hot coffees, early nights, electric blankets, holiday decor, pumpkin patches, tailgating. Everything that... like, what about like, for me, the thing I miss most about the States, the U.S., is like just the feeling of like, all the pumpkins, the pumpkin patches, and like the colors of like orange, the pops of orange. The color orange is definitely something that I kind of miss about celebrating, fall, the autumn season in the U.S. All right, though, for now, we got to get to Kat's pick for today. For today's I almost said hot clip. It's Kat's pick now. They've renamed it. I'm going to talk about an athlete. I don't know if you know him because he is an American footballer, a football player, not a soccer player. His name is Brett Favre. And the thing is that he just made kind of this bombshell announcement about his health. So here is a clip from NBC News.
NFL legend Brett Favre is known for his dominance on the field.
And back goes Brett to throw here.
Playing in the NFL for 20 seasons and helping lead the Green Bay Packers to a Super Bowl win. But now traveling to Capitol Hill, where he shared painful personal news Tuesday.
I've recently been diagnosed with Parkinson's.
Favre had one of the longest careers in NFL history.
I could be fighting depression, struggling to keep my thoughts straight.
But the now 52-year-old speaks out about the risks of brain injuries in football.
I'm just fearful of what concussions can do. And it only takes one.
Favre has said he believes the game impacted his health.
Seeing stars, that's a concussion. And if that is a concussion, I've had hundreds, probably thousands throughout my career.
In 2018, Favre told Today he suffers from memory loss.
Do I have early stages of CTE? I don't know.
CTE and Parkinson's disease are often linked to a history of concussions.
What we're finding is if they do have the CTE, it's probably the CTE alone that's causing their Parkinson's.
Parkinson's disease is a brain disorder that can cause movement problems and other health issues, including tremors and impaired speech. One study suggests having a single concussion increases the likelihood of being diagnosed with Parkinson's by 57%.
The curse of this is that somebody like Brett Favre must have been playing through a lot of concussions. And that is not a good situation for having your brain recover after a traumatic brain injury.
Now what? What does Brett Favre do now?
So he posted on X overnight that this has been an ordeal, but that his family and friends have been supporting him. There is no cure for Parkinson's, but it's also not fatal. And there are a lot of treatments, including medications and actually even brain surgery, that can make a big difference. People live for a long time with Parkinson's.
So as you heard in Kat's pick today, yes, Brett Favre, he is kind of a legendary football player in the United States, but the focus is on the fact that he has Parkinson's. It's not 100% conclusive, but many experts seem to think that all the concussions that he may have gotten because of football may be linked to Parkinson's, and that is why I wanted to bring it to your attention. This was Kat's pick for today.
Stay tuned. You're listening to Morning Wave in Busan.
All right, Wavers, we have Lydia. She is in the studio. Let's say hi to her first. Good morning.
Good morning.
Does it feel weird sitting there?
I feel so good. I feel like this.
Why?
I love this seat. I feel like
you're like swiveling in your seat.
Yeah.
And then like what else? Why is it?
I love the
two
dual
screens. Yes, the
I
two
didn't even know
screens.
that these existed. I just love like this 360 view.
Doesn't it feel different sitting?
So different.
I the first time I sat there, I'm like, I feel like I'm the CEO of like a company.
Yes.
Like at a board meeting. All serious. Yes. So before we get into our segment, let's talk about fall. Our text topic is this. Assuming that you do like fall, I'm assuming you do. What do you like about fall? What are you looking forward to enjoying of this probably short fall season? What do you say?
I definitely love running outside this weather. I can't think of anything else right now, but I just love the crispy leaves, like when I'm stepping on them and I intentionally go in the puddle of like leaves and I jump on them like
I
a
love the
little kid.
sound. I love the crunchy sound. And Leslie was saying the same thing too. And you know what? I miss all the orange. Like, like the pumpkins and all that. It's just not the same.
I definitely plan on, I know this is not a tradition in Korea, but I do want to find a pumpkin, but not super big one, like a mini one. If I don't know if I can, right. And then I want to carve it this year.
Oh, yay.
And then use the inside to, I don't know, make something.
The insides, pumpkin seeds.
The seeds,
roasted
and then like
seeds.
the gooey stuff.
Oh.
To make, I don't know, like
pie?
Maybe like 호박죽.
Porridge. Yummy.
Yeah, yummy.
Sounds good. All right, we're going to jump into our segment. What do you have for us today?
Well, I am astonished how quickly the temperature dropped this week, right? I'm actually I'm a flip-flop girl, but today I was like, oop, I probably should have worn socks today.
By the way, flip-flops. Okay, this is like the English terminology for today. Flip-flops. I think in Korean we call it okay, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's like chori or chori.
Chori.
Yeah, like when you're,
Yeah, it's like a thong.
Thong for your toes. Perfect.
They're my toe separator. Well, we are officially in the fall, speaking of.
Yes.
Which means not just the lattes, the pumpkin lattes, or the cozy sweaters, or the socks, but it's also the time of year when something else happens in the dating world.
In the dating world.
It's cuffing season. Yeah.
What? Wait, slow down. Cuffing? What are we talking about?
Cuffing season.
Coughing?
Cuffing season.
What is cuffing season? I have been so out of the dating scene.
You don't know what cuffing season
cuffing
is?
Season?
It's like you're supposed to get cuffed.
Handcuffed
by someone else. It's that time of year when being single starts to feel a little colder, a little too lonely, and suddenly everyone else is looking to lock down a partner before the winter chills set in.
I love that cuffing. Why have I not heard this before? Cuffing season.
You don't think there's an equivalent word to cuffing season in Korean?
Let's ask our listeners. Maybe our listeners have some idea. Like 한국말로 이거 비슷한 거 있나요? 이거 수갑 채워가지고, or I say like 털컹털컹. Well, maybe that's a sound of jail. But is there an equivalent of talking about 수갑 채워서, but in a good way, not going to jail, but like in a relationship, like falling into a relationship in fall?
In a silly, flirty way.
Yeah.
But I was surprised that there isn't a word for it because Korea is like the most coupled up place on earth. Honestly, I don't think I'm exaggerating, right? But what's really interesting is how dating trends have evolved, though. I mean, post-pandemic dating is like a whole different thing. We've got people doing virtual dates. I'm seeing more international relationships. People are using apps to find their soulmates.
Have you tried virtual dating?
Virtual dating? I don't know what virtual dating is. Is it like meeting someone for the first time or like
having dates online? I mean, is
online?
That a thing?
No, I don't think I've ever done that. But I mean, people are also like going old school and meeting people like in person.
Yes,
like there's
Isn't
a Korean
that the whole
word for
point?
that. There's
what is that?
자만추.
All these words.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm a big fan of 자만추.
Yes.
It's a mixed bag right now. And according to this British dating app company that surveyed close to 2,000 single people, there are 9 emerging dating trends in 2024 besides cuffing season.
Really?
I was surprised that
many.
I was surprised I only knew one of them, which is loud dating.
Loud dating.
This is all about being upfront and clear about what you want in a relationship, so you're not wasting time. So
I thought it was just being really loud.
No, when you add loud something in front now, that means like you're like shameless about it.
Shameless.
Yeah.
Upfront.
Like upfront. You're like, I want someone who makes $10 million.
Or how about that song that everybody, like, it's on all the social media?
What?
The in finance 6'9".
Oh,
you know,
6'9".
Not 6'9". Whatever
like
in finance.
Patagonia vest.
Right.
I don't know.
But you know what I'm talking about. Right? Be very specific about what you want.
That's like loud.
That is loud dating,
basically.
Okay. Okay. So, what else do you have aside from loud dating?
So I'll give you like top 3.
Top 3. Okay, here we go. So
swamping.
For all the married folks out there, you can enjoy this vicariously through Lydia. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
There's
swamping.
Swamping.
What is
so
swamping?
is when you find someone you can comfortably share your swamp with. So you're like your true
swamp.
authentic
I don't
self.
know. It's like a dip, like a wetland. It's like and by
where
the way,
like a Shrek lives.
Don't misunderstand. It's not swap. Nuh-uh. It's swamp.
Swamp.
SWAMP. Okay.
Yes, and so the study also revealed that on average it takes 5 dates for someone to feel at ease enough to dress more casually around a new partner. So
really, is that true for you, or do you
5 dates?
5 dates?
Definitely, yeah. I think so.
So on date number 1, how dressed up do you get? Like if you assuming sundress.
It's like a dress. I wear like a casual dress.
Casual dress,
and then second date jeans.
Jeans.
Yeah.
What about date number 3?
Third date leggings.
Leggings, and then
4th date maybe still leggings. 5th date sweats.
Oh, the comfort level.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Marriage jammies.
I was like, by that time you'll be like naked. It's so comfortable, too comfortable.
Like no more clothes.
Swamping. Interesting.
Okay. Second one, no habiting.
No habiting. What is no habiting?
It's not cohabiting. It's no habiting.
What is that?
That's when you choose to wait longer to move in with your partner because you value your personal space. This is like a form of self-care now because it seems that from COVID, people are like, let's just move in together, save some money on rent, things like that. But now it's like going the opposite. Like we're not living together. Like we've been dating for 7 years, but no, I need my space.
I
no
like
habiting.
that. Can we do it? Oh, wait. I gotta make sure. I don't see my roommate in the chat. Okay. Is he listening?
Next one, fiscal attraction.
Fiscal attraction.
So this kind of touches similarly what we talked about when you won't settle for less.
Sure.
And you're seeking a match who is financially secure. And that's who you find attractive. 38% of the people surveyed admit that they're drawn to those who are financially savvy.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, though.
Yeah.
It's not saying you want a rich person. Someone who is financially savvy means they know the ins and outs of finances,
They're
right?
fiscally responsible.
Right.
Yes. So, I mean, whatever these trends are, it's clear that singles today are prioritizing meaningful connections and are being open and honest about what they're looking for.
You had me at, what was it, like, between cuffing and loud
dating.
Loud dating, interesting, and swamping.
It's all about, like, expressing yourself.
Well, speaking of how dating is changing, is it true that the Japanese government is now offering its own dating app? Is that true?
Right. So the government had to intervene. We're at that point. So
that's kind of sad.
The Tokyo government wants people to get cuffed up ASAP and boost their sagging birth rate. This program launched this week. So you basically, if you're over 18 years old and you live or work and study in Japan, you can apply for it. You pay about 11,000 yen. So that's like about 10만 won.
For how long though?
For 2 years.
Oh,
yeah.
If you're serious.
Yeah, and it is so to attract more serious users.
Yes.
But this system uses artificial intelligence and also traditional human labor. So what you do is you have to actually submit legit documentations, your income statement, your verification proves that you're actually single. You have an interview with an actual
they
person.
vet you.
Yes, and then
then
they put all that data in the AI.
Okay.
And the AI matches you with with another person, like whatever you're looking for.
That's interesting.
And then the government is like doing this. Right?
Interesting. So I think that's very interesting. And even the Korean government, different municipalities are doing different things, like setting up like these events where like, singletons can get together and mingle and do all that. Right. But, first dates can be kind of tough though, right? So what would you say are some of the, some tips?
So I do have some tips. I have 3 questions from these dating experts that tell you to not say on the first
so these
date.
are do not. 하지 마세요. Here we go.
So they said that the dating experts are saying pretty much you can talk about anything on a date as long as it's not, too much about money or politics.
Okay.
But these are 3 things that you shouldn't be saying to awkward moments on dates.
Especially on a first date.
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
So first one, according to the dating experts, is don't ask about a person's dating history, even if it's tempting to, dive into that.
That can kill the vibe. It can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And you want
what
to
else?
focus on having fun. Second, skip the should we go to another date on the first while you're still on the
while
first
you're still
date.
there. Okay.
Because this can make the other person feel like pressure to say yes, even
That's
though
like uncomfortable.
And then what if at the end you give them a little kiss and you're like, ugh, I don't want to go to the second date, but now you already said that that's bad.
And then
lastly, avoid 3차 or 4차.
Third or fourth round.
So yeah, I mean this could be a little harder in Korea because in Korean culture, when you go to 3차 or 4차 means you're expressing I'm really enjoying this time and I want to be with you.
Right.
But dating experts advise against extending a first date too long.
I agree though.
Yeah.
You want to kind of keep the mystery going.
Yeah, you also you don't want to spend too much time together and that can sort of create a false sense of intimacy.
That is so true. Oh my gosh. This is it. But it probably isn't.
Definitely maybe not.
Yes.
So simply leave wanting more, like you said. There's always time for a second date if the connection is real.
All right. Well, this was so interesting and so much fun. And I have some bad news for our waivers.
Oh, no.
Because it is Lydia's last day with us.
It's not bad. It's
bad.
Good. It's see you later. It's
bad.
good riddance.
No, it's not good riddance. But thank you so much for the months and months of all the great stories, the banter. I really enjoyed it. And of course, we wish you the best. And hopefully we'll see you soon.
Hopefully I'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you, Lydia.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right, everybody. We're going to get to our final song for hour number 1. So it's going to be Short Battle Line Love by Cheese.
오늘같이 싱그러운 날엔 길거리 차도 별로 다니지 않아 문득 지나가다 거울을 보면 오늘 내 모습은 좀 예뻐 보이네 이따가 널 보면 무슨 말을 할까 날씨가 좋다고 뻔한 말이라도
Your bridge to the world. BEFM 부산 영어방송.
다운이 실내 건조 세탁 세제. 습한 실내 건조 시 빽빽히 널린 빨래는 냄새를 만들죠. 다운이 실내
이 캠페인은 대선공익재단과 BFM 부산영어방송이 함께합니다.
혹시 지금 운전 중이신가요? 어린이 교통사고 피해자 수는 지난 3년 평균 약 9만 명. 특히 어린이 보호구역 안전기준이 강화된 이후에도 어린이 보호구역 내 사고는 지속적으로 발생하고 있습니다. 스쿨존에서는 반드시 시속 30km 이하 서행, 스쿨존 내 불법 주정차 금지, 차량 출발 전 앞뒤 좌우 살피는 습관으로 어린이가 안전한 도시를 만듭니다. 참, 운전 중 휴대전화 사용은 모두에게 위험합니다. 우리 모두를 위한 교통안전, 나부터 실천하면 모두가 안전해집니다. 어린이가 안전하게 뛰어놀 수 있는 부산. 아이 키우기 좋은 도시는 우리 모두의 미래이자 희망입니다. 이 캠페인은 어린이가 안전한 부산을 만드는 은행, B&K 부산은행과 함께합니다.
부산 글로벌 도시재단 대표이사 전용호입니다. 부산은 대한민국의 굳건한 성장 동력으로서 물류, 금융, 영상, 관광, 문화, 디지털 첨단 산업의 중심지인 글로벌 허브 도시로 나아가고 있습니다. 이를 위해 부산 글로벌 도시재단은 부산을 대표하는 도시 외교의 플랫폼을 지향합니다. 세계 평화도시 부산의 브랜드를 강화하는 부산 UN 위크와 부산 글로벌 도시 포럼, 유라시아 도시 외교단, 개발협력 포럼, 그리고 세계 시민축제는 부산의 소프트 파워의 상징으로 자리매김하고 있습니다. 부산 영어방송도 시민과 함께 영어하기 편한 도시, 세계와 경쟁하며 더불어 살아가는 부산을 만들어가겠습니다. 시민이 행복한 글로벌 허브 도시 부산, 부산 글로벌 도시재단이 함께합니다.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
Good morning, Dynamic Busan.
Yeah, you're waking up. Time to shake it up. Tell the world good morning and find out what's going on.
Well, hi there, folks. There's everything from comedy to lively chat to music.
Broadcasting from a room about the size of your closet.
All calls are recorded. What show is this?
Live from Korea's dynamic city, this is Morning Wave in Busan. I'm sorry, who'd you say you were?
It is now 8 o'clock. It's time for news highlights. Yoon faces pushback from both parliamentary parties. Leaders of the ruling People Power Party, PPP, voiced frustration over the dinner with President Yoon Suk-yeol earlier this week, while National Assembly Speaker Woo Won-sik urged President Yoon to publicly address his wife's luxury bag scandal. PPP leaders said in a post-dinner interview that the party and the presidential office seem to have different perceptions about key situations, including medical reform, and expressed regret at the lack of a one-on-one meeting between Yoon and PPP chair Han Dong-hoon. In the meantime, Speaker Woo Won-sik said that the First Lady's luxury bag scandal has grown in scope and depth to the extent that it is hard for the National Assembly to overlook, and urged Yoon to give serious thought to the scandal. OECD cuts South Korea's 2024 growth outlook to 2.5%. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, or OECD, cut the growth outlook for the South Korean economy by 0.1% to 2.5% this year, the Finance Ministry said yesterday. The South Korean government expected a 2.6% expansion, and the Bank of Korea, BOK, forecasted 2.4% growth this year. The OECD mentioned geopolitical risks and the subsequent trade tension as major challenges to the global economy, and recommended nations to continue lowering interest rates if possible. It projected global growth at 3.2%. Top births in South Korea in July, the most in 12 years. The number of babies born in South Korea in July came to 20,601, showing an increase of 7.9%, or the largest margin in 12 years. The growth came as more couples held weddings from the second half of 2022 through the first half of 2023 after delaying their marriages during the earlier stages of the COVID-19 pandemic, the agency said. At the same time, the number of people who moved to different residences last month fell to the lowest level in nearly 50 years, with a decrease in new homes and aging pointed to as reasons. School violence experience rate exceeds 2% for the first time in a decade. Elementary to high school students who say they have experienced school violence increased to over 2% this year for the first time in 11 years. That's according to the Education Ministry yesterday. The proportion of victims was highest among elementary schoolers at 4.2%, while 1.6% of middle school students and 0.5% of high schools said so. A National Youth Policy Institute official said that this rise may be attributed to increased sensitivity on the issue amid heightened public interest. Israel intercepts Hezbollah missile near Tel Aviv as it prepares for ground incursion. Israel and Hezbollah are trading waves of strikes, which have forced thousands of people to flee their homes in Lebanon. Israel said that it had intercepted a ballistic missile fired by Iran-backed Hezbollah toward Tel Aviv, marking the first such rocket to target the city. Hezbollah said that it had targeted the headquarters of Israeli intelligence service Mossad. Meanwhile, Israel's chief army said that the military is preparing for a possible ground incursion into Lebanon. And this was News Highlights. And now it is time for that segment. You know which one? Wagga. Wagga, we have Haley back in the studio.
The one and only.
That's right. So we're going to talk about our first story, and I'm going to go through my papers. I have the script here. Here we go. So natural, right? First story. Police in Switzerland have made multiple arrests after a woman ended her life with the country's first use of this so-called suicide pod, right?
Right. So there's a trigger warning. Be warned, we are going to be talking about suicide and assisted suicide.
Yes.
But police in the Schaffhausen region, they've arrested several persons on what they call suspicion of inciting and aiding and abetting in suicide after this individual she died reportedly by using this pod. So what is this pod? So it looks like it just looks like one big pod where a person can go in, kind of like a tanning bed or something similar. But it's made by this company called Sarco, and they say it can solely be operated by the person seeking to end their life without medical supervision.
Sure.
By filling this capsule with nitrogen, and it's effectively suffocating that person, albeit they're saying in a painless way. So advocates say that it provides an option that is not reliant on drugs or doctors, and that it can expand access to euthanasia and as portable devices. And apparently this is even 3D printed and can be assembled at home.
Yes,
So it increases access, but is that something we want? Increased access to? Well, it looks like it is a form of suicide, not even doctor-assisted. So that's what precisely critics fear, is that the device also looks, for lack of a better term, cool. And that is the point, because it looks very sleek and modern. The critics fear that that can even glamorize suicide.
Yes.
And the fact that it can be operated without medical oversight is also concerning. So, by the way, assisted dying, excuse me, is legal in Switzerland, and we have discussed this in our special interview previously. However, it is strictly regulated. That's why that suicide pod was deemed illegal. So, by the way, reports say that the deceased is a 64-year-old American woman who has suffered for years over serious immune system-related disorders.
Yes, indeed. So this story also popped up on my feed, and I was kind of like, well, I thought it's all the time, in Switzerland that everything would be legal, but apparently
there are very
not.
strict regulations and steps one can go through.
All right, let's move on. We've talked about our plans. If we ever win the lottery, we've done a lot of fantasizing here on our program, but in reality, there's been criticism that, even if you win the grand prize, first place in the lottery, the lotto winnings, you can't buy an apartment, apparently not in Seoul, right?
Not in the middle of Seoul, not in like a Gangnam district.
Yes.
Doesn't mean that you necessarily should or would want to, but
still.
here's the average in terms of first prize winnings for the lotto in South Korea. It's 2 billion won, so 20억. And I mean, it's sad state of affairs that 20억 can't get you an apartment in like Gangnam.
Right.
But last July, there was actually a case, this past July, there was a case where 63 people all won the same place in the same week.
Oh my gosh.
So after taxes got taken away, they got under 400 million won, so that's 4억 won. That's definitely not enough to buy a home in Seoul by far. Perhaps in Busan. So upon these complaints, the Lottery Commission, which is under the Finance Ministry, they have launched a survey into what people think about the lottery and the lotto system. Specifically about the amount. Do you think the first prize winnings are enough? And are there too many first prize winners? Should we make it more difficult? And etc. So in case, if the survey result reveals that an overwhelming majority, they want for higher winnings, the commission may raise the price of playing the lotto. So right now that one game is 1,000 won. And it's usually 5,000 won for the entire ticket because one ticket will have the 5 different lines, 5 different games. And also chances of winning. We say, chances of winning the lottery, 1 in a million. It's actually 1 in 8.14 million.
Do we need to change that phrase?
We do.
It's 1 in 8 million.
It's a 1 in an 8.14 million chance.
Yes.
So right now, how do we get the 1 in a 1.84 million? Because you choose a number between 1 and 45. And, run the figures, whatever.
Yes.
But maybe we say 63 people winning the first place lotto in 1 week is too much.
Yes.
That is way too much. So if you want to make that more difficult, if people want to make it more difficult, that number can be expanded. So according to the Seoul National University Statistics Lab, if you have people choose the number between 1 and 70 as opposed to 45, the chances of winning goes up or goes down rather to 1 out of 13 billion.
Billion?
Billion with a B.
But then, I don't know, that makes it so out of our reach. You're
Right.
never going to win.
As opposed to a very attainable 1 in 8.14 million.
But 8.14 million versus 13 billion.
Right, I know.
It just sound, the M and the B sound different.
Right, and it's this is so theoretical. The last time I bought a lottery ticket was 2 years ago. But still, I would like to imagine that I have a chance of winning if I do ever play.
I don't know. My sister forced me to buy a ticket. She's like, she had a good dream. And she's like, give me a 1,000won. And I was like, why? She was, pay her for the dream, but she can't tell me or something.
But she's so nice.
Yeah,
she
sold
that dream?
She sold me the dream. So
How much did you win?
Because I was near the convenience store.
Oh,
So she's
got it.
nothing. Zero. Zip. So maybe, yeah. Okay, let's raise it to
All right.
1 out of 13 billion. All right, next. For many K-pop fans, the Sangam World Cup Stadium is kind of like the dream venue, as it's one of the biggest venues. However, if you ask soccer or football fans, well, they don't really like it. The fact that they hold concerts there at all.
There's a weird fight going on.
There is.
And I've been popcorn it's just seriously reading the comments with popcorn, they really hate on each other.
They do.
So there's this thing going on between K-pop fans versus soccer fans.
Yes.
And that kind of exploded with the IU concert this past weekend.
Right.
So the soccer fans criticized that the lawn on the ground was ruined with the concert installing the ground stage and on-ground chairs. So soccer players even, they have long expressed frustrations at the grass quality at Sangam World Cup Stadium, as well as other venues. As recently, Captain Son Heung-min, he pointed out after the recent World Cup qualifier, there were issues with players' ball controls and dribbling, not because of the players, but ... implying the grass, quality. But here's the thing, singers fans, not only with IU, but many other top singers that have rented out Sangam Stadium, they insist, they don't play there for free. They pay the venue rentals, includes the cost of maintenance to the grass. So isn't it the stadium that should be taking better care of their grass?
Well, you would think.
Well, you would think so. So who is in charge of the stadium? Seoul City. So they kind of oddly threw more fuel to the flame because Seoul City, which owns the stadium and it's under the care of Seoul Infrastructure Corporation, they said that from next year, they'll rent the stadium with the caveat that one cannot sell ground seats. But here's the thing, that announcement came right before the IU concert, so that timing made it seem like they were just blaming her concert.
And it's not just her concert
it's absolutely not
concert
just
goers.
her concert.
Right.
Well, here's the thing, as the Gen Z say, provide new receipts. And there were physical receipts released yesterday that kind of turned the thing back onto Seoul City and Seoul Infra Corporation. So according to the Infrastructure Corporation's report released by Democratic Party lawmaker Wi Sung-gun, the stadium itself has made 8.2 billion won for renting the stadium out for soccer matches and concerts. Specifically, if you're looking at K-pop concert, by the way, that 8.2 billion does not include the IU concert. The receipts aren't in yet. But 1.4 billion won from the Lee Myung-woon concert and 977 million won from 17's concert. And likely at least 1 billion won from IU, given the ticket sales and whatnot. And they charge a larger percentage of ticket sales from K-pop concerts as opposed to soccer matches. I believe it's 15% to roughly 8%. But despite having made that much money, the corporation spent just 250 million won on lawn maintenance, which is a fraction of the cost. And that is very, very, very low investment. So lawmaker Wee said that Seoul City announcing their decision on excluding these ground seats, the timing made it look like the singer or singers were to blame for the lawn getting damaged, but indeed it is their responsibility.
Yes.
In any case, the next World Cup qualifying match for Team Korea against Iraq will be held in Yongin as opposed to Seoul because of the grass quality.
Right. But it does make you wonder, though. 250 million won on lawn maintenance. So where did the rest of the money go?
I'm sure there are other
operational
factors,
costs,
but but still, the key is if you guys are a soccer stadium, then
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
we need to end it on a happy note. Tell me there's a happy story.
We do. So often if you live in an especially crowded or older apartment complex, you hate your neighbors, and the biggest reason is parking.
Oh.
Yeah. I do a little bit. Stop parking.
Are there
so close
parking
to the line.
wars?
There are parking for our apartments. There are little skirmishes.
Okay, skirmishes.
That's
such a nice way of saying that.
Yeah, I do it a little.
But there's that tension.
Yeah, I have maybe left a note of, can you not park on the line? You are on the line.
How does you wrote it in Korean? What'd you say?
손 밟지 마세요. I was so mad, you guys. I was so mad.
Okay,
but and it was nice though. Anyways, and it's often an argument when neighbors talk to each other about parking. But a resident, upon moving out of that particular apartment, left a thank you letter.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And you're like, really? Why? So this was on X, formerly Twitter. It was a picture of a letter that this resident left. They said that they've lived in this apartment for 4 years, and he or she is taking the time to thank the neighbors. He or she presumably has a disability because they wrote that there are places where the disability parking spot doesn't get used the way it's supposed to, meaning non-disability vehicles parking there. But despite that apartment complex having tough parking situations, the building's residents apparently always left that spot open for this person.
Yes.
So the person could live there for 4 years without any difficulty, at least with parking. So he or she thanked them wholeheartedly and wished them health and happiness. Number one, this is great.
Yes.
This is a very lovely story. But I mean, this is what people are supposed to do. So I do hope that we live in a world where this isn't like something to be thanked, but we like shame and boo people who don't abide by that.
Of course.
But it is lovely that they, when someone goes out of their way to express positive feelings,
Sure.
it always makes the world a better place.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And let's not park in spots that are designated for people with disabilities, please.
By the way, because if you park in, and this is really important, not only parking,
Yes.
but blocking. So if you think you're kind of circumventing the law by not literally parking in the spot, but parking in front of the spot, that's the same thing.
Okay.
Or even parking on the line of a disability parking stall, because some for wheelchair access will have these like, I don't know if you can call them like shoulders. They'll have extra
Yes.
spaces.
Yes.
That still counts as a space. That can result in 100,000 won fine. And these days with apps, people will take photos and report it to the authorities. So
I think they should up it. That's just my personal opinion,
Yeah.
though. Yes, because in certain states in the U.S., it's much more than 100,000 won.
Absolutely.
Right, and that does say, don't park there.
Right.
All right. Well, we're going to call it a wrap for Waggers. So thank you, Haley. We'll check in with you tomorrow.
Have a great day.
All right, everybody. And now it's time for your traffic and weather. Here's your weather and traffic update. First up, traffic. There was an accident on Gwangan Bridge going towards the Namcheondong area, so that means there's a lot of backup ensuing. Please make sure you're aware of this. There's another accident on Nakdong-daero from Sasang. A two-car collision across from Kupo Station. It's also looking slow on Chungjang-daero from pier number 5 going to pier number 3. Also backed up on the Dongso overpass from Kamdom ramp to the old Kegum tollgate. As for the weather, it's currently 22. It's going to go up to 30 degrees today. It's a little warmer today compared to yesterday. Rain is forecast in the capital area and parts of Gangwon and Chungnam. And there's a pretty big gap between the low and the high, so maybe dress in layers. This was your traffic and weather.
If everybody had a move,
All right, let's do some dancing. Surfing USA by the Beach Boys.
then everybody be served like California. You see them wearing their baggies, Warachi sandals too, a bushy blonde hairdo, surfing USA. You'll catch them surfing at Del, Ventura County line, Santa Cruz and Australia's Caribbean, all over Manhattan, and down Doheny Way. Everybody's gone surfing USA. We'll all be planning out a route we're gonna take real soon. We're waxing down our surfboard, we can't wait for June. We'll all be gone for the summer, we're on safari to stay. Tell the teacher we're surfing USA. Hanger Keys and Swan, Pacific Palisades, San Onofre and Sun, Redondo Beach, LA, all over La Jolla, at Waimea Bay. Everybody's gone surfing USA. Surfing USA. Everybody's gone surfing USA. Everybody's gone USA. Yeah, everybody's gone surfing, surfing USA. Yeah, everybody's gone surfing, surfing USA.
All right, so welcome back, everybody. We are going to go over a text topic one last time. Things that you really like about fall. So once again, I'm going to have to look to the left, so you'll probably see it's the backside of my head. But let's see, Jin Lee Waver. For me, fall is a season like a gift. That gets me through the tough and hard summer. Oh my gosh, I like that. That's kind of poetic. 약간 시 같지 않아요? Fall is a season like a gift that gets me through the tough and hard summer. Yes, so definitely a lot of people are really, really happy that this long, long summer is over. And so a lot of people talking about like the crunchy, the fall leaves are quite popular in our chat rooms and on Kakao Talk as well. So I don't know about you, but also the end of summer means kind of like going towards the end of the baseball season as well. So we're going to get to our special interview, and I'll be back with that in just a moment. All right, listeners, so as I've been alluding to, the KBO, Korea Baseball Organization, oh my gosh, it's so popular, all the games as of late. I mean, the crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd. Korean baseball has been quite popular this past season, especially. I don't know why. I want to find out why. We're going to find out soon, though. I mean, we're talking about passing the 10 million spectator mark for the season. And fans across the country, it's not just the Lotte Giants fans. They've been flocking to the stadiums in person, in the heat, I might add. Not just for the love of the game, but for the electric cheering culture that makes the KBO games kind of unforgettable. So from passionate chants to team songs, the stadium atmosphere is unlike anything else in sports. So we're going to take a deep dive into what makes this league so special, especially this year. So we have invited to the airwaves Yoo Ji-ho, who is a sports writer at Yeonap. He has joined us many times before, so let's say hi to him right now. So hi, Ji-ho, how are you?
Hi, good morning.
Yes, it's great to have you on air once again. So first of all, I mean, like I was saying in our intro, the fact that this season, I feel like it's just been a stellar season, reaching a historic milestone of 10 million fans for this season alone. So what do you think has been kind of like the biggest factor driving in the fans into the stadiums, like I said, even with the extremely hot weather?
Yeah, it's just a staggering number, isn't it? A country of about 50 million people, we've got 10 million people going to baseball games. Like you mentioned, the heat. I mean, this was a really brutally hot summer, and I think the average attendance numbers were higher in August compared to April, May, and June. So the heat did not discourage fans from going to ball games this year. I think the first thing that it comes down to is the product. This has been a really good product, very compelling race among teams. This has been a historically tight race for the pennant, for the postseason spots. And the bracket is still not actually set through Wednesday's action. And we've only got a handful of days left on the regular season. So this has kept a lot of fan bases interested and also emotionally invested the whole time. I think the fact that the team like the Kia Tigers being good also helps. They've long had a loyal fan base, and their fans travel really well. So if you go to a road game involving the Tigers, sometimes their fans outnumber the fans of the home team.
Yes,
including in Seoul, even in some cases.
Right.
So not a coincidence for me that the last time KBO set an attendance record was back in 2017. They drew 8.4 million fans at the time. That year, the Tigers finished first in the regular season. They won the Korean Series title. So this year, they clinched the regular season title last week on the day of Chuseok. They headed straight to the Korean Series. I know you guys based in Busan with the Lotte Giants. also one of the best attended teams in the league. And can you just imagine that if the Giants were any good, I mean, they missed the playoffs for the 7th or 6th straight year just a couple of days ago. If they're any good, I mean, their attendance numbers would just go through the roof.
Right.
They're already, I think, top 5 in attendance. So a team with a good fan base being actually good on the field as well, I think that also helps.
Yes. We laugh out of like pain and the misery because we want our local team to do well. Go Lotte Giants, maybe next year, right? But, speaking of like the fans, but I want to talk about the cheering culture because it is so different from sports in the U.S., right, Jiho? Really becoming kind of this defining aspect excuse me, of the KBO experience. So how do you think that this culture influences fans' decision to kind of like attend the games, especially among like younger and first-time spectators? And I have to say, like, even like the viral sensation, what is it, the Biki Biki dance? Like, I mean, globally, people are like, participating in this challenge, right?
Yeah, so like you said, it is very different compared to MLB, Major League Baseball, or even Japan, where people are a little more subdued, a little more organized, I guess. In the KBO, I mean, they do have the chance and they repeat it sort of a chorus and stuff, but a lot more boisterous, I would think, in the KBO than other leagues.
Sure.
And whenever I talk to players that come up from overseas, the one thing that really stands out for those guys is the whole cheering thing. It is loud, and those athletes, they feed off the energy of the people in the stands. Nobody wants to pitch in a quiet crowd in front of a quiet stadium. They thrive in that kind of loud environment.
Sure.
Now, from the fans' perspective, cheering has long been a part of defining part of the KBO, and I think especially the last couple of years, going to a ball game in KBO has become pretty good and a very affordable entertainment option.
Sure.
You could be outdoors for 3 hours and just bring your own food. The drinks and other concession foods that are not that expensive compared to restaurants and bars.
True.
And you can scream from the top of your lungs and nobody would bat an eye. And in fact, if you stay quiet, you stand out for staying quiet in the ball game. So, how many other places can you do that? Stand around, dance and sing, drink and eat food and not get kicked out. How many places can you name that? So
yes.
And the tickets are not that expensive either compared to other entertainment options. You can go to a random bar and restaurant, you probably spend more money than not be able to, get up from your seats and sing and dance, right? So for people with a lot of energy to spend, being outdoors, being in a ball game, sing, chant, cheer for up to 3 hours, that's a pretty good option at that money. So, some people might say, I went to this outdoor party and a baseball game broke out, that kind of thing, right? So,
yes.
And some stadiums have their very unique seating arrangements where in some corners of the outfield, they don't have chairs. They just sit on the grass, set up tents, bring your family and friends, kind of hang out, kind of, do your barbecue thing, kind of chill. And then, have the actual baseball game going on in the background. So, again, there's a lot of things that make going to a ball game in the KBO very unique and interesting.
Right. So this past season, I've heard of even company outings instead of going to like a 회식, going to a baseball game. And I hear that that's been like a hit, like really highly popular because, instead of going to the company 회식 and going to, let's say, 노래방 and not, enjoying it, but you can go to a baseball game and, like you say, relieve that stress, still kind of hang out with, your colleagues. But I mean, just have a great time, right?
Yeah, just being outdoors and, especially nowadays, it's cool down a little bit, right? So, you talked about the fall, your favorite things about fall. And my personal favorite things about fall is baseball. So
baseball. Indeed. Well, tell me about a game that you might have covered in the past couple of weeks. Like, tell me about your personal experience. Like, is the atmosphere as electrifying as everybody has been telling me? Just just my colleagues and friends, they've been saying, oh, you got to go. And I haven't been able to go this past season. Is it as amazing as everybody has been saying?
Oh, probably more so. I mean, if you haven't gone, you're missing out. I was just at the game Tuesday between the Busan Bears and the NC Dinos in Seoul 2 days ago. So this is a sort of a late, season Tuesday game, a weekday game. In previous seasons, a game like that would not have drawn as much of a crowd, but this one had 20,000 plus, and the Chamsil Stadium sits about 23,750. That's the sellout capacity, and they had about 21,000 on a Tuesday game, involving a team with all the respect, NC Dinos, that do not have a big fan base. So, and for me, I was shocked. Looking at the matchup, I thought, it's a Tuesday, it's the Dinos versus the Bears. I think we might have maybe 15,000. Yes. And they ended up having 21,000. Right. So, but that's been the normal occurrence this year, not the exception. Not that long ago, you will be able to walk up to the box office on a game day, on a midweek day, buy tickets, and just walk in.
Yes.
This year has been very difficult. In some occasions, it's literally impossible to get a ticket on a game day, even on a Wednesday or Tuesday or Thursday.
Indeed.
I don't know if you've seen some clips from the late 90s, early 2000s, where people were riding bicycles through the stands in the KBO stadiums because there were so few fans. But now,
so different.
You could barely walk through. Yeah, you could barely walk through some of the aisles now in baseball games now.
And speaking of the fans, though, Jiho, I've noticed also that the crowd seems so much younger. Not that, they were like all older before, but also lots of females. It's not just like a male-oriented kind of fan base. I mean, there are lots and lots of, women and even teenage girls who are really enjoying this, this baseball culture.
Yeah, so I'm not sure about the gender thing. Yes. I do know for a fact that teams, at least some teams, have done some marketing activities geared toward female fans. But as far as the younger generation, younger audience, I would point it to one key development for this year. It's the fact that fans this year are now able to share highlights and edit them in short forms on social media. So before this year, fans did not have that right because of copyright issues.
Really?
But this year, KBO signed a new streaming deal with some other company. So they started charging money to watch streaming online on KBO games. But in exchange for that, fans are now able to produce their own short form highlights and bloopers and whatever, and they share them online. So I think that helped to draw some casual fans into the league. You go on the social media, you start seeing all those highlights, scores and bloopers on your timeline.
Sure.
Some of the young people who maybe were not interested in baseball maybe start paying attention to the league a little bit more. So, and the fact that if you write some stuff on your on the sketchbooks or bring your own signs and you get on camera quite a bit. But this is your chance to get on national TV in some cases. So, a lot of different factors I think working to draw younger fans into the league this year.
Yes. So as we wrap up our conversation today, Jiho, what do you think the KBO and of course all the teams should do in order to kind of sustain this popularity? Because right now, I mean, they're riding a wave. We can't deny it. I mean, even compared to last season or 2 seasons ago, after COVID, even before COVID, it wasn't this popular if we look at all the statistics and numbers. So what can they do to sustain the popularity?
Yeah, so they've really hit a jackpot this year with this number. But I think they have to do a little more to show their appreciation for the fans. If I may compare it to Major League Baseball, teams there do a lot of the sort of the fan appreciation days. They do a lot of giveaways. They do a lot of events.
Sure.
There's no such a thing as a wrong day to do a fan appreciation day. They could do it every week, right? A lot of teams do it toward the end of the season, their final home games. I say they should do it more often. Do giveaways, do bobbleheads, do Children's Day, let kids come out on the field and run the bases on the weekends.
Right.
Do some lottery, do some food promotions, whatever. There's a whole bunch of ideas that you can borrow from MLB and show their appreciation for fans for showing up. So, because they're the ones that put their money in their pockets, right? So, I think the team's got to do a little more of that. Also make it easier for, foreign fans. I think foreign people living in Korea to buy tickets and merchandise, and also do some more international exposure, do some more broadcasting, more streaming for the international audience as well.
Great ideas. Well, definitely hoping that all of these things happen to sustain the popularity and keep it going. But thank you so much for explaining the phenomena of this past year, the KBO. And of course, we look forward to speaking to you again. Thank you, Jiho.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, everybody. Once again, this was our special interview with Yoo Ji-ho. We talked about the KBO hitting a milestone for this past season. And so, the regular season, it is coming to an end real soon. But, will this continue next season? That's going to be a major question that needs answering. All right. For now, though, we're going to get to a song that I think is pretty fitting. So here it is. This is 부산 갈매기 by 문성재.
지금은 그 어디서 내 생각 잊었는가 꽃처럼 어여뻐 그 이름도 보았던 순이야 파도 치는 부둣가에 지나간 일들이 가슴에 남았는데 부산 갈매기 너는 정녕 나를 잊었나 지금은 그 어디서 내 모습 잊었는가 꽃처럼 어여뻐 그 이름도 보았던 순이야 오늘도 못 잊어 내 이름 부르는데 부산 갈매기 너는 벌써 나를 잊었나 부산 갈매기 너는 벌써 나를 잊었나
Get your local up-to-date news from Korea and abroad right here on Morning Wave in Busan with Catherine. Stay tuned.
Everybody, it is now time to check in with Haeyeon for City Insights. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
It feels so weird. The distance is there.
It's a little further, but I like the direct eye contact.
I love it too,
Yeah.
but it's I just can't wait until the producer comes back tomorrow. And report, nobody can see our engineer off camera. He's been sitting here for 2 hours.
Oh my goodness.
Helping me like behind the scenes.
Yes.
Because like
What a
I've
trooper.
done this before, but not since like they've changed everything. And like
It's another level of multitasking.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty good at multitasking, but there's like 3 screens and like there's just a lot. Do you see all the mice, the mouses that I mean, it's just
a
like
lot
insane.
a lot of
of
mouses,
stuff
yeah.
going on. I know Minsu does it. I know other hosts do it. I'm sure, you've
I've done it, but yeah, it's
the first time is like nerve wracking.
Very
Yes.
much so,
I'm
but you're
just
doing
glad it's
great.
almost over. But hey, we're talking about fall for a text topic.
Yeah.
What do you love about fall? What do you look forward to? What are you looking forward to doing during this autumn season?
Just taking long walks.
Yes.
Just those like wandering strolls that I wasn't really able to do over the summer.
Because it was so hot.
So yeah. Oh, and
Yes.
just going on walks with my puppy.
I was gonna say with
Yeah.
Dongi.
Yeah.
And, but I was
and I
thinking,
can get her
Yeah?
get her fall wardrobe out and put on all the cute sweaters on my puppy.
oh my gosh! And I was thinking, like, isn't it like really when it was really really hot? I'm sure like the little the pads of her little
it can
paws.
hurt, yeah.
It can.
So
too
now
hot.
it's better for both of us.
Well, we're glad to hear that. What do you have for us for City Insights?
Right, so whenever I get a chance to sit down with Busan filmmakers, it's
Yes.
such a treat. And this time I met with the director of a new documentary that explores the history of the women's movement in Busan. It's titled The Witches' Carnival, in Korean 마녀들의 카니발, filmmaker Miss Park Ji-sun.
Yes.
The film actually opened in theaters yesterday. Now, when we think about a documentary about feminism, it's easy to assume it to be, a grim, sort of dark movie. But just from the tagline of the poster, it kind of flips the expectation. It says, a joyful march of Busan women laughing in the face of patriarchy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so in it, women of Busan across generations, from teenagers to women in their 60s, who are continuing to face the patriarchy, explore their enduring struggles and resilience.
And when we talk about feminism in Korea, like I don't want our male listeners to think we're anti-men. That's not what feminism means.
Definitely.
That's not what the original meaning is,
Yes.
right? And so where does the title, The Witches' Carnival, where does it come from?
So the Witches' Carnival was the first feminist festival at PNU, Busan National University, and it sparked a new movement on campus using performances, films, and workshops to tackle sexual violence and gender discrimination.
Okay.
And it ended up inspiring platforms like the webzine 월장 and the women's magazine Her Story to continue these very important conversations.
Yes. So what can we expect from the film?
So this place called the Busan 여성 노동자의 집, the Busan Women's Workers House is featured. It used to be a place for learning and a place of rest for women workers since the late 1980s and into the 90s. So back in the day when they didn't have the internet, women would go there to learn important things like how to calculate their wage and learn about organizing and unionizing.
Yes.
Also, there was a movement in 2016 called the Action to End Gender Discrimination and Sexual Violence. It started as a memorial rally that year after the murder case of a woman at the public restroom in Seochodong. So you get to see women, speaking out in public about the violence that they faced and standing in solidarity with the Me Too movement here in Busan.
Right. So it kind of seems like this is a film that celebrates like women's solidarity, but not in this like grim, angry kind of tone, but more of a cheerful, uplifting way, right?
Yes. So in the next clip, I asked the filmmaker if she always wanted the tone of the film to strike that more uplifting tone. So let's see what she says.
저의 연출보다 실제 부산 언니들의 연대의 역사는 통쾌하고 유쾌했어요. 그래서 강한 자에게 강하게 맞설 줄 아는 그 카리스마는 도대체 어디서 나오는가 개인적으로도 많이 궁금했었고요.
네.
든든한 뭔가가 있지 않을까라는 기대도 있었습니다. 그런데 누구나 이제 힘든 시기가 찾아올 때가 있잖아요. 영화에 출연하신 분들도 그런 시기들을 계속 맞이하는데 그럴 때 동력이 되었던 힘은 그분들 옆에 있는 다른 또 여성들이었던 거죠. 그래서 작은 것 하나라도 뭔가를 해냈을 때 내일처럼 정말 기뻐해주고 작은 것 하나도 칭찬해주고 어려운 일을 겪었을 때 내일처럼 여기면서 함께 해결해 나가려는 모습들이 있었습니다.
네.
그런 통 큰 자매, 이렇게 쿨내 진동 자매를 보여주셨던 것 같아요.
Yes, so she shared that the history of solidarity of Busan women has had a lot of joy and pleasure in it. Director Park Ji-sun has always been curious about where their strength and sort of charisma to stand up to those in power comes from. And she said it seems like they have such solid support from each other.
Sure.
So of course everyone has moments of hardships, and those moments are seen in the film as well. But during those times, the presence of other women alongside them is what kept them going. So for instance, they celebrate each other's achievements, no matter how small, as if they were their own. And when someone faces challenges, every time they came together and tackled them as one team. So through this film, she wanted to show that this very bold and whole sisterhood, that very cool and supportive bond that vibrates with strength.
And the thing is, like, this whole idea really spoke to me about celebrating each like joy or moment like it's our own.
Yes.
And like also the opposite, though, not pitting woman against woman either.
Exactly. That's
so important.
Such important camaraderie, regardless of gender, but especially sisterhood can be very powerful.
Right.
And, we're living through these times where gender-based violence is still on the rise, and a lot of harsh sentiments that can be thrown back and forth between different genders. So the director mentioned that despite sometimes feeling like we're stuck in place as a society, even post-Me Too movement, she wanted to affirm that we are actually moving forward together, and that this sense of togetherness can allow us to envision the next steps.
Yes.
So yeah, I just love that, this very thoughtful documentarian who was born and raised in Busan. She's very committed to making these important records of the women who came before us.
Well, thank you for sharing this with our waivers. We're going to move on to our second insight today, though.
Yes. So I sat down with Busan's master designer who heads the Future Design Headquarters, which was recently created to bring more innovation to our city's urban design.
Okay.
I'm talking about Professor Ken Na at Hongik University's IDES. That's the International Design School for Advanced Studies. And, if we think about urban design and public design, it's about creating spaces and objects in cities that everyone can enjoy. So everything from benches, bus stations, even the trash bins on the street.
Sure.
He referred to them as street furniture. And it's about finding the right balance between being useful and looking good. So Professor Ken Na described it as good design is something that looks good and works well.
Yes, indeed. Well, what will the Future Design Headquarters team, what will they be working on?
He said that since our city has, such diverse, beautiful natural landscapes,
right?
And even with architecture, we hold the past and the future together all in one city. He says we have such amazing potential. But the main objective now is to bring change to a lot of the more unilateral matchbox-style buildings in certain areas by infusing more beauty into them and bringing a qualitative growth.
Yes.
So there are several projects in the works, but let's first take a listen to Professor Na talk about the reorganizing or the decluttering pilot project that's happening near the Busan station area. Let's have a listen.
Most of people from outside of Busan is the gateway. That's the first impression of Busan to other peoples.
That's true.
And then if you see Busan from the Busan station, visually so complicated. There are too many signs and too many the poles, and it is so complicated. So most time the peoples get overwhelmed by the visual information. So what we're trying to decluttering is that if you see there are a lot of poles, like electric poles and traffic poles. We can put it together in one integrated ones, and then make the road even and nice street furnitures. So by doing that, we can make the first impression of Busan역 at the global level.
Yes. So, like he said, Busan Station, that's whether you're a domestic traveler or someone coming from abroad.
Sure.
That's kind of the first face of Busan. So
That's true.
I think it makes sense to make that area, less cluttered with the signage and the poles.
Yes.
And he says that it's not it's not about drastic changes. They're going to take very small steps and take into consideration the opinions of the residents in that area.
Important.
And all the different sectors to make sure that everything's done safely, but to make the area look more beautiful.
Right. I mean, it should be safe, but also aesthetically pleasing as well. Like, decluttering, as he says.
That's true.
So what are we going to hear in the third clip?
Okay, so this one's about another pilot project called the Special Architectural Zone. So let's take a listen.
If you see the buildings, apartments in Busan, sometimes I'm get angry about seeing the apartments at the best location in Busan, especially the Igide area, the high-rise apartment.
Ooh.
In order to innovate the Busan by design, and one of the most impactful thing is the buildings.
Yeah.
Architecture. So this project is using the world famous Pritzker award winners and collaboration with domestic companies.
I see.
They build nice buildings. Then through the a thorough evaluation and fair judgment, if they pass the certain criteria, then city gives some kind of incentive.
Changes we can expect in the design of our city.
Yes.
So it was good to talk with the master designer, Professor Dagon.
And so while he was speaking so passionately about some of the areas, like especially like the second clip about, like the Ida area with all the apartments and whatnot, I do wish like the city planners and those who are in charge, who give out the permits to build all the beautiful skyscrapers, but also to take into account like, the landscape, the environment, and also people, what they're thinking too about all this building.
Because that is, it's such a forte of our city, right? The mountains and the beaches. So hopefully that can be taken into consideration.
Indeed. All right. Well, thank you so much, Han, for coming in today for these two different but equally interesting city insights, and we'll check in with you next week.
All right, bye-bye.
And with that, it is almost time to say goodbye. And I have to say, once again, thank you for tuning in, all the wavers out there. For those of you who are listening through the radio, you might have not noticed anything too different. For those of you who are checking in with our YouTube or NoTube channel, you might be thinking, oh, things look a little different, maybe a little more hectic than usual. So thanks for bearing with me. I do appreciate it. And yes, for our final song, here it is. This is 그땐 그랬지 by Carnaval. So let's try to enjoy. Yes, it is fall. I know it's quite warm, but still enjoy the fall day that we have ahead. Bye, everybody.
참 어렸었지 뭘 몰랐었지 설레는 젊음 하나로 그땐 그랬지 참 느렸었지 늘 지루했지 시간아 흘러 그땐 그랬지 시린 겨울 맘 졸이던 합격자 발표 날에 부둥 켜안고서 이제는 고생 끝 행복이라 내 세상이 왔다 그땐 그랬지 참 세상이란 잊혀지더군